Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai, and happy first day of spring.
Yeah, the spring repot season is here. Oh, not yet.
There is so much excitement in the air the first day of spring. I woke up today and I was thinking, yeah, we are going to repot some trees today. Since it's the first day of spring, I thought it'd be a great time for a little bit of spring cleanup for myself. A little shave, a little here, a little there, a little nip and a tuck. And then I was able to check into my haircut place and boom, 15 minutes later, guess what? I had a haircut. It was done. It was springtime and I was feeling spring clean. Just got my haircut and it's about 10 minutes before 4 o'clock, the official start of spring. We got to get home and take care of some bonsai because spring is here.
Oh!
Okay, so the first day of spring is really making us not feel terribly excited about the repotting season. Though we're itching to repot and get things into gear, Mother Nature has had different plans for us this year. This is going to be an update show plus a little special extra feature. Let's check in the cabin cold frame trees, see what's going on for a couple of updates. The sun is going down, so we're losing our light pretty rapidly, but look at the cotoneaster since the last time I showed you out here. We've got plenty of green buds on the cotoneaster. I moved one of my Siberian elm forests on my lap because look at what is happening to the Siberian elm. We have some green. So the Siberian elms are waking up as well. My other cotoneaster. A few more leaves than last time as well, and then when we pan over here to the weeping willow, they're still looking quite pale, not pushing out too much length at the moment, but yeah, we have some action on the weeping willow still. A close-up on the big chopped maple shows the buds have still, just showing a little bit of swelling action, but they're not pushing up too far, so that's kind of nice. And then all the larches look pretty good. Nothing's popping yet. I don't expect those to move for a couple more weeks. The bonsai shuffle is just around the corner for us, but we're not taking anything out yet, that's for sure. All right, the sun is setting fast. So the cabin cold frame, not a whole lot of updates for you, but we do have more trees blooming, so that is something to keep an eye on. Not a whole lot we're going to be able to do with that, but let's go over to the trees on the outside and see what they've got going on here, as it's officially the first day of spring, don't you know? So I don't know if you can tell with the evening sun getting lower into the sky, but this boxwood has got quite a lot of sunburn on it on this this front side right here. Doesn't look nearly as bad on top and the back, and that one didn't get as bad, but boy, the front of this one. Yeah, I think I just heard a robin. Did you hear that? The robins are out. And all of these boxwoods, just a little bit of light color on that one. So not much winter burn there. That's good. So all these trees looking pretty good right now. And all the boxwoods down in here, yeah, they're looking pretty good. A lot of dark green, a few white spots here and there. And here is the big larch forest that we collected 2 summers ago now. We'll see if we can put that into some pots this year. The big one right there with all the black spruces, and they all look relatively good. That back one has a little bit of brown back in there, so we'll see what happens there. And the Australian pine. My imitation Japanese black pine. Look at the size of those needles. Peter T says we can bring those back. We'll do some work on that in about 3 weeks. Peter T's coming to town. Looking forward to that. So everything's looking relatively good outside. It is the first day of spring, but it sure don't look like it in my backyard. We'll go into the plant room now for some updates there, plus the special section that I got for the show coming up a little bit, and then maybe a sneak peek at the landscape challenge, because I don't want to divulge too much because that's coming up on the next episode. Let's go check out the plant room. It's the Portulacaria Afro wall. We got a shelf with 2 levels of PAs plus a couple other regular jades. So there's the real purpley looking section. But we got some decent little PAs. They're plumping up a little bit more of late. We've had a little bit more warm in the plant room, so I think they're loving life. There's the forest there of about 5 trees, and the big one back there, that's looking pretty good. Big long growth there in the middle of that one. It's going out to the left there. We have to do some trimming there. And the solo one here, I brought this to a couple of workshops. They're looking pretty good. Maybe some trimming before we bring them outside here in the spring in a couple of weeks. We have the tiger bark ficus there. And then the giving hands with the boxwood. It's in a new location right now, getting a lot of light, so I have to make sure that that thing's watered pretty good. And I got all my willow leaf ficuses that I'm going to be starting to work on pretty soon. The Premnas down there, doing pretty well. I've noticed a little bit more of that possible mildew on there, so we might have to do a little treatment, especially on the tree right in the middle here. My cuttings for my PAs really sprouting out the last couple of weeks. So here's the fish pot tank without any fish in it. I've got a couple of melon seed ficus there, loving life with this big light above it. And there's the goldfish plant. Really had shot up a lot of nice new growth. Those leaves are doing well. The secondary one here is doing okay. That back branch died off a little bit there, got dried up. And we got the Premnas in there. They're shooting all kinds of real congested growth in here, a couple of spurts as well, long sprigs. And I got some of my PA cuttings here, another spurt and growth here on the Premnas. So everything here almost looks like this, almost looks like a nursery display where people can come in and pick all kinds of different plants because of all the potted plants. So those are all doing pretty good. And the table by the north-facing window, cabbage cold frame there in the background. We've got some more willow leaf ficuses, the nice starter ones from Eric Schrader over there at Bonsai. Check out his trees, great stuff. He provides good stuff for you. The PAs there, I got the triangularis ficus there, real thick up top again. See all that thick growth up there? That's because it's only about 4 inches from this light, and so that gets all the growth. It's nice and thick, and it's a little bit thinner down there. But even this one right here is doing pretty well too. So we're going to be able to, this was the sacrifice branch. We're going to let this grow out to get it thicker. And this one we're going to maybe thin up a little bit here so we get some more growth down here. We got the Mingorelia back there. Mingorelia is looking pretty good. And there's the Melina. Look at that. And the new growth once again. Look at that, another 12 to 18 inches of growth. It's weird, when I cut this one though, look at the stem right there in the front there. Look at it, it died off. So I cut it down and it died off. So I'm gonna let that grow until I see a little bit more hard woody substance there before I do any cutting. So there's this branch coming out here to the left, a couple over there to the right. So the Melina's been acting kind of strange for me. I get like 3 or 4 sprigs, branches that just go nuts. And then everything else just kind of holds tight for a while, but still alive and cranking out stuff. And then all the plants in the middle here, we got a couple of Scheffleras in the background there. Yeah, Scheffleras, all the different pots there. The plant I got from Tom from Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors. I never remembered the name. I can't remember it now. I always thought it was the Desert Rose, but it's a different version. We'll have to go back and look at the name of that one, but it's come back now. It looked like it was going to lose some leaves. I did one little trim or two, and that one's got some life to it. So look at the green leaves on there. So that's doing okay. And I got the brush cherry, 4 or 5 some there that we pruned back about a month or so ago. Everything's looking fine there. Then we come over to the last purple light of the room, and we've got this grapewood with these 2 trees. And even though it's harder to tell with this purple light, this little tree right here just looks so fun. It's a nice little shape. We got this little tiny Melina next to it that's growing again, and all this nice growth, 4 or 5 different limbs growing out there. Those trees, they're going to keep doing good till we get them outside. And then the Benjamina forest back there doing well under the purple lights. So things in the plant room looking good. Before we finish up this update, maybe I'll give you a sneak peek of the landscape, perhaps. Before I show you that quick little kind of partial peek of the landscape challenge, Let me show you some footage from Otten Brothers. So I was out there last Saturday here doing a workshop, and it was weird because the March 18th workshop was colder than the February 18th workshop because the weather's just been so absolutely nuts here in Minnesota. In spring, though it's today, as I filmed this, it doesn't look like it out there. It didn't feel like that on Saturday. This probably took Rodney Clemens a couple of decades to produce, maybe longer, because it's a boxwood. Ryan Neal, if you want to go to Bonsai Marai, he works on a lot of juniper. He and a bunch of other professionals are really making a Western name for bonsai now, and really it's the junipers. The Rocky Mountain junipers are king right now in our country, and they go collect them up in the mountains, and they turn them into that. John Naka has left us, sends this picture. John Naka is one of the most well-known Western bonsai practitioners, or was. This is one of his most famous tree forest plantings. And so when you have junipers, you peel off the bark layer, you'll get this really beautiful red color. It's super pretty. And then if you put that lime sulfur on the part that's dead on this tree, which bonsai practitioners want, they want it to look old. Your goal is to make your tree look miniature and powerful and old and just kind of really cool. You want movement on every single branch on the tree. And so they purposely make that whiter with that kind of stuff. This guy is Peter T. He also works with our Minnesota Bonsai Club that I'm a member with. I'm a part of his fundamentals group. So 3 times a year he comes to Minnesota and we spend a weekend with him and work on trees. It's just, you can't get any better knowledge than working with some of these folks who've been in Japan and worked with all the masters. A bonsai tree is not just one tree, and it's called bonsai. You can make a bonsai out of any tree in this nursery, any plant that will give you some kind of a woody trunk feel. So I have a Thanksgiving cactus that I've turned into a bonsai tree. Now there are members of my own club, or the club I belong to, that go like, Dave, I just don't see it, and that's not a bonsai. And they just won't agree with that. But that Thanksgiving cactus now has about 4 inches of what looks like a brown trunk on a tree, and it's dividing into branches, and then it's got the green tips, and it has flowers every once in a while, right, around Thanksgiving. Beautiful. I think it's really cool and very unique. Bonsai for me is the journey. What I do with my trees and the time I spent with you all and the time I spent in my plant room is therapy times 10. The rest of the world for me shuts off completely, and it's the best thing in the world. So if you don't have a hobby like that in life, it doesn't have to be bonsai. That's my little 2-second speech on find something you love to do. And so bonsai for me is a journey and whatever you want to do to make a tree. But there's going to be all these rules in the bonsai world. Rules are meant to be broken and bent a little bit, so everything I say here, you can say, yeah, but, and we can change some of those things. So, we're going to talk a little bit about tree structure, about the bonsai, again, whether it's a 9-bark bush. I have a couple of lilac bonsais that were 30-year-old lilacs that I dug out of the ground, so they have trunks this thick already. And that's what a lot of people want to do. If they want a big tree fast, you just put it in the ground. If it's Minnesota hardy, let it grow in the ground for 5 years. Let it get real thick and big. Cut it back, let it get big, and then you cut it out, put it in a bonsai pot, and start making your changes, and you can get your tree big. We want to see our bonsai kind of go from the ground and kind of just move up a little bit towards the top, the apex of the tree. Top is the apex, the crown of the tree, right? We've got the roots under the ground, we've got the trunk, and then we have our branching. We're going to refer to our branching as primary. That's the ones that come right off the trunk. And then when they split, that's secondary. Then when they split again, that's tertiary. And we keep wanting thinner and thinner and thinner branches. And the trick with bonsai is that we want to take a tree that's going to grow 40 feet tall and keep it about 2 feet tall or 1 feet tall or maybe even 8 inches. Or maybe even less. And so we can show you tricks of that as you get into bonsai if that interests you. For today, you're going to leave with a bonsai tree that looks like a nice beginner tree. And then whatever you do with it is up to you. And we'll tell you how to take care of it and make sure you can maybe get some advances in it.
How much of what you end up with is what you want it to do, and how much of it is what the tree itself wants to do?
Amazing question, and I almost sometimes forget to go here. Bonsai, some people argue, is either 80% horticulture and 20% art, and then the other people flip it around. It's like 80% what you do to it and the art, and then 20% just keeping it alive, right? And knowing the techniques. You can do whatever you want to the tree to make it do almost anything you want, depending upon the variety of tree, again, the species. You know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, so whatever you do to your tree is what you're going to kind of feel, but if you have no idea what to do to your tree, again, a professional, I'm not a professional yet, but a professional or someone who's a big-time enthusiast who has some experience can say, well, you might want to do this, you might want to try that, and you'll get a tree that kind of does this. And you can say, oh, that looks kind of cool. Or again, go online and then you figure out what you want. And then you email me and say, Dave, how do you get this tree to do this? And I'll just say, oh, we'll do this and that, and that'll help. I don't know if that answers your question completely, but you can do both. You can let it go completely natural, and that depends again about your position on the thing. There are some people that do not want a Japanese style bonsai because Japanese or now European bonsai is almost like when you get a bowl haircut when you're a kid. Bowl on there and cut it around. That's some of the topiary style bonsai you'll see in Europe. And they get a little poked fun at for that. But it's super manicured and super smooth. You've got these amazing pads, but it doesn't look like any tree out in nature, right? So the other spectrum will be people like, I'm not going to wire this tree. I might not even cut this tree. I'm just going to grow it and just maybe a couple of nips and tucks and it's going to look like a real tree. And then there's people that's somewhere in between. And nothing's wrong. When you talk to me about bonsai, nothing you say is wrong. I'm not going to tell you anything's wrong. I'll tell you how to take care of the tree better and try to achieve something. But I'm not going to ever say, hopefully I'll say this is what you could do, not what you should do. But there are some techniques with some trees that, yeah, you really should do this if you want it to grow better, you want it to grow stronger, you want it to be healthier. I can say it that way. But you can do whatever you want to make it look however you want it to look. So there's all kinds of nuances with pots. Buy a pot that you like with your tree. And again, there's some rules if you're going to show your tree. That's not what we're going to talk about today. You can research that more. We can talk about it more later. But the 4 key areas that we just talked about is size, shape, style, color. Sometimes the style or the shape will maybe work better with trees because it's a more stiff and rigid looking rectangle pot versus a nice oval or a round. You might get some octagon shapes. You can just have every shape in the world, right? Some of the feet at the bottom of the bonsai pot, if they have a lot more ornate decorations, so they're real sharp edges and triangles versus a round soft ball. I mean, your tree, depending on what your tree looks like, you might want to put it in a different pot for that reason. The one general rule of thumb I will share with you all is pot size as far as how big of a pot you put your tree in. And that is the bottom one here that you, again, can't read from the back. But if you have about a 2-inch thick tree, you want about a 2-inch to 3-inch pot this way. So if it's 2 inches around, which none of these trees are, you want it to be about that. In the end, when you go to show your pot or for a really good perspective, that's kind of the rule of thumb. You want the pot depth to be about the same thickness as your trunk eventually. But in the beginning, for you all, you just want a big pot like these. Here's 3 different sizes for you. This is super small, and some of you will be using this today. This is the medium size, and then this is kind of a little bit beefier, a little bit larger. This is going to hold a lot more soil. It'll stay wet a little bit longer than the medium one, and you're going to fit a bigger tree in there. But if you have a smaller tree, you want it to repot that one for about 4 or 5 years because there's so much room in there for roots to grow. Soil, oh my gosh. So this is the one we could go forever and a day on, and I'm not going to do that with you today. Just remember that bonsai usually goes into rocks, basically. It's not dirt. And the 3 substances in my bins back there that make bonsai soil, it's usually a third, a third, and a third for most trees, especially in the beginning. But it gives you kind of the basics there. Akadama, lava rock, and pumice. Akadama comes from Japan, the most expensive of the 3. That makes this craft pretty expensive. You don't have to use Akadama. You can use turfus. Turfus is the stuff they use on baseball fields to soak up the water and keep it from being a soupy, sloppy mess. And so the Akadama, lava rock, and pumice take over for that. The lava rock is a little bit more coarse, has a lot more air pockets in it and jagged edges, gives you that nice air pockets in your soil. So even though you're putting this fine, the smallest one is my small soil, you put that all in there, there's a lot of oxygen because it's rocks bumping on each other, not a bunch of dirt, right? It was so great being out at Otten Brothers again, out in Long Lake, Minnesota, on the west side of the metro area. And Chris and Linda, thanks again to their help. Head out to Otten Brothers. They have a lot of these trees out there, and the Portulacaria afras we did at the workshop before. So look at the trees from the participants. We got a big group shot towards the end. So it's so fun to see people get enthused about bonsai. It just gets my heart pumping, and we just get all excited to do more workshops. So a lot of nice looking trees there. Here's an extreme close-up of the quaking aspen. Look at them things waking up. An extreme close-up of the zelkovas. We've got buds on the back one, buds on the left. And some leaves right there, as small as they are. They are going to be fun. Things are opening up here. That will do it for this update show and a little peek at the Otten Brothers workshop and our happy spring edition of Dave's Bonsai. Yeah, the first day of spring, it kicked off at 4 o'clock this very day, and Mother Nature was not having anything to do with it. The Bonsai Shuffle is getting ready to commence in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be moving trees in and out, and I'll bring you all the updates as we start to do that. In the meantime, hey, take care of you. Take care of all your bonsai, whether you got this snow or not. And we'll catch you on the next one, everybody.